Hello and welcome back everyone into the seventh chapter, second part of this essential C++ series. We are going to talk about numerical data types in this video, and we're going to see what all numerical data types are there, and we're going to explore everything that you should be knowing about numerical data types. Let's start by the first and foremost thing, which is contents, okay, so that we know what we are reading. Okay, so we're going to talk about numerical types, example of integer types, example of float types, example of double type, difference between all of them, and it's going to be very fun. So let's start with the first one, which is numerical data type integer. Okay, so you basically talk about integer, or in general you talk about numerical type when you use integer and when you need to store a whole number or a value. So it can be anywhere from 35 to all thousand, or maybe zero. So, and when you talk about float, you talk about having that decimal point. Okay, having that decimal point adds precision. In case you're storing angles, you want to be very precise. That's when you add these values. Okay, that's when you want to get that extra edge over integers. Okay, that's thing number one. Now let's move on to the next type, or next part, or the understanding of it. Examples of integer types. Okay, so I have this simple program where I'm storing a value named int mynum. Okay, mynum is storing a value of 1000, and I'm counting mynum into an output. Now what happens is, where you are using cases where you can't have digital value or decimal values, example your age, even your birth date. Imagine like someone is saying that I'm 35.5 years old. That's technically possible, but you don't just say that. So you use values which define exactness. Okay, that's when you use integers. Okay, move on to the next part. We'll have example of float. Float is something when you want to store a value with decimal point. Example of this would be angles. Okay, wherever you want to store an angle, where you want to feel like you want to store 90.5, 90.23, all these things, then you use a float type variable. Okay, let's move on to the next part. When you use double, okay, double is basically for high numbers. We just saw it in the previous video as well. When you want to use numbers or decimal points beyond a certain value, that's when you use this. Okay, so it can be anywhere from having more than 8 decimal point or 7 decimal points to all the way up to 15 points. If, let us suppose you're saving coordinates, okay, GPS coordinates, and you want to be very, very precise. In that case, you use double as a data type which can store all these values. So let's talk about the differences. Okay, so float versus double, let's talk about that. Okay, so the precision of a floating point or a floating point value indicates how many digits are there. So when you talk about precision, it means how many decimal points are there. So the precision of float is only 6 or 7 decimals. For float you have only 6 to 7 decimals, whereas for double you have it up to 15 digits. Okay, that's like the one of the most important things that makes double special. Okay, therefore it's always a safe idea to use double, because most of the time when you use float or double, you use it in equations. Okay, when you use equations, you have no idea what your computer is going to generate, and using double always gives you that extra edge to make sure that you have enough offset of space so that you can store anything you want. Okay, that's pretty much everything that you need to know about all these things, and I'll see you all in the next one, where we're going to talk about Boolean and character data types. And I hope you're learning something from these videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, peace.